Hey, hey, hey. Been a while. Are we streaming? I hope we're streaming. How's it going, guys? Angus here from Maker's Muse. Back in Australia after my incredible trip abroad to Open Source 2024. And it was a trip. It was incredible. It was huge. I haven't streamed for a very long time. Things have changed. This is a brand new setup. Everything in this setup is untested, so please bear with me. Um, I am using my phone as a webcam. I've got a new computer, got a new rig. It's all new to try to sort of streamline and hit the future of Maker's Music content hard, and I am here for it. And you guys in the chat, I've been reading the chat, getting ready. John, it was great to meet you over at Open Source. Finally, Teresa, I hope you're well. It's been so long since I've been back to Perth. I hope the weather over there is nice. It's very cold and wet currently here. And Nero, dude, so good to see you too. It was awesome to meet you at the open source. And these you guys went on to the Rep Rap Festival afterwards, like a week after. I don't know how you do it. It was absolutely crazy. So I want to just hang out. And also, open source was such a big thing for me that I think it's important to run through everything that happened so that for those that missed out, because it's in one part of the world, it's only for one weekend, it's pretty expensive to go and attend, and it's pretty hard to get to, but for everyone that did go, I think it was very much worth it, and especially for someone coming from the other side of other side of the world. Very much indeed. I was a bit apprehensive about the trip, but it was definitely worthwhile. So Nero is indeed a dude. Absolutely. I'll keep my eye on the chat as much as I can. Like I said, I'm using my phone as a webcam, and I will go through a little slideshow in a bit. But first, I want to address the travel. So, for those who don't know, I live in sunny Sydney. I'm about an hour and a half out of Sydney, and to get from here to the US, usually we go via LAX. So usually you go from Sydney to Los Angeles International Airport, and then from there you fly off elsewhere. But the flights this year, thankfully, and I'm very thankful that the open source team organised it. They actually organised my flights for me, and thankfully they actually organised a flight from Sydney direct to San Francisco. So that was incredibly easy to get from where I am to where the event was. The issue is the time. So you're looking at 12 to 13 hours of flight time to get there non-stop. And look, in economy, it's doable. But after about 5 or 6 hours, you kind of just stop existing. I'll sort of explain to people, it's almost like a forced zen. You kind of just sort of accept your fate, where you're like, okay, I'm here, I can't do anything about it, I have entertainment, I'm cramped, I'm uncomfortable, but I'll just make it work and push through. And then once you sort of accept that state of non-existence, the flight goes really quickly. I can't really sleep on flights, like during the whole thing, just, not for me. So I got a little bit of sleep, but I essentially arrived from leaving Sydney at 9 p.m. Essentially arrived at like 8 p.m. US time in San Francisco, which actually like worked out pretty well. We caught up and we went to the hotel. The hotel for the creators. So this is the really cool thing about open source, which makes it different from like the maker fairs of old, which were still great events. But open source is like very creator driven. So we attend, like William invites us, the open source team invites us, and we'll stay in the same hotel. So what was really just from the start incredible is, as someone who has lived through YouTube for years, well before having a channel, I just would watch builders, makers on YouTube make amazing projects. Rocking out to a hotel where there's all of them. Like Colin Furze and Tom Scott and amazing people who I have looked up to like pretty much my whole adult life, and even growing up, just there as people just hanging out, having fun, amazing people, so many cool creators, and just that experience alone made the whole trip worth it. Because being in Australia, we're pretty isolated, really. Like, we are far away from you guys over in the States, and it's hard to connect, sometimes. Online, forget it. It's really not the same as in person saying, hello, nice to meet you. It's been, I've been watching your content. What did you do here? And then, like, the collaboration and the ideas start flowing. Usually with a few drinks as well, which was very enjoyable. Teresa. Oh, man, that is a throwback. Thank you so much for the Australian $5. I brought some $5 notes to America as well to show everyone. And, you guys had fun with, funny colored money. Although I think US notes look like Monopoly money to me, which is pretty funny. Anyway, so volume is about too low. I can't change the volume really. I could bump it a little bit. Let's have a look. I don't want to damage anything. Filters. I've got an output gain. I can bump that a little bit. Don't be too ridiculous. How's that? It's kind of sort of going into the yellow. We'll see what people say. Yeah, so arriving in the evening after a huge flight, I was just there for the weekend. I arrived Thursday night, right? Like, just for open source. So there was no time for jet lag to be fixed. So I didn't sleep much the whole weekend. But again, with so much going on, how can you sleep much? So the things that I didn't expect was the additional stuff organized around the event. So before open source even began, we were invited to Adam Savage's cave. The tested cave, like the legendary workshop, right? In a very secret, undisclosed location. And as someone who has also got my own workshop and is always struggling with where's that tool, I spent the whole time just studying how he has organized his tools. So it's pretty interesting. If you watch the videos, because obviously you can watch Tested, and you can watch Adam talk about all of this sort of stuff. But if you look at his workshop, there's stuff just out in the open everywhere. And like, you might think, oh, that looks cluttered, that looks unorganized. It's more organized than a chest, like a tool chest. Because, like, for example, what sort of blew me away, he had like a vertical wooden board with holes in it with pliers. So pliers, all down the whole thing, out in the open, ready to go. I was like, you know what? That makes so much sense, because when you need a tool, are you going to rummage through drawers or remember where it is? No, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind, right? Like, it ceases to exist. But if it's vertically in your field of view, ready to go, you can grab it and put it back as you work. I'm like, okay, that makes so much more sense. So it makes sense why his workshop is so cluttered, like the stuff across every wall surface, because it's a used workshop. It's not just for show. It's used constantly. All the clamps are clamped to a board vertically down the wall, because what do you do with the clamp? Well, you clamp things. So you put it there and then take it off. You don't put it in a drawer. Like, just simple things that are perhaps unconventional when it comes to organizing, because people think an organized workshop looks like, a clean room. It doesn't. An organized workshop looks like a workshop. It looks busy. And so I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I instantly had some awesome ideas to take home from that. John was saying Adam calls his organizational system first order retrievability. Absolutely. And if you can't reach the right tool, right, you'll reach for the wrong tool, and you end up using like vernier calipers as a spanner. I've never done that. I'm just joking. Cosmic Katamari, so good to see you. I love how your YouTube display picture is still the display picture from that old ridiculous cartoon that I forgot the name of. Mitch is saying having free table space is organized. Yes, that is true. So I'm like sort of like a goldfish in that I will acclimatize to my workshop area very quickly, and I just fill tables with stuff. So you can see behind me, like, everything's full of stuff. I am perpetually disorganized, so I am going to try to put some processes into place to make my life a little bit easier. But yeah, it was it was mad. Like I was drifting through because I was obviously running on very little sleep, just drifting through, talking to people, and that was unexpected and very cool. So the event hasn't even started. So the open source event, for those who don't know, it is like a revival of Maker Faire. So where you can come and show off your cool projects, but it's more done with like a creator slant. So people like me and other creators attend. We're attending this year. Again, big thanks to Open Source, Will and his team, for actually flying me and many people to the event and booking the hotel and everything. We do like panels, we do talks, walk around. There was the Creator Museum. So I brought my parrot puzzles to show people where, you know, if you haven't seen those old videos, the cockatoos flying on my balcony solved these puzzles. And I brought those. There was all sorts of crazy stuff. And this massive venue. It's absolutely gigantic. So it's called Cow Palace. I'll see if I can show you a picture of it. Oh yeah, that's me before flying off. For 12 hours. But there you go. So it's got this really weird, like, Soviet brutalist vibe. I'm not sure how to describe it. This massive building in, like, industrial San Francisco. It's not nowhere near the original open source last year, which was, like, on the pier, very touristy and that. This is middle of nowhere. Like, we went from the hotel to the venue, and it's just like empty land, industrial, small houses, nothing really of note. So honestly, perfect place to host this sort of event. It's really funky, and it's called Cow Palace because they used to do cattle auctions there, right? And it's been used to host like all sorts of live music concerts. It's had an ice hockey rink in it. It's got a giant like stadium in the middle of it. And that's where the event was held. Lincoln was saying, did US Customs give me a hard time with any unusual stuff I brought? No, I had a really easy time with US Customs because my stuff's 3D printed. And when you go to these events, so if you're a bit of sort of border stuff, not what's the word? Not legal advice, but if you're traveling to the US from another country for paid work, it's a different kind of thing. And I don't know the full details, but I think you had to pay taxes or something on it. I wasn't paid to attend open source, but they did pay for my flights and hotel. So it's like, you kind of paid for it, but not with money. So I couldn't really be responsible for anything. But in that case, when creators arrived, you have to sort of be careful what you say, or the customs agent will get a bit confused and, you know, might hold you for longer. So I just said convention, which is true. I wasn't doing anything wrong, and they were like, yeah, it's all good. But then a few other people were sort of like asked, oh, did you book your flights? And then they were like, oh, show me the receipt. And they're like, oh, no, sorry, you know, I didn't book my flights. They were paid for me. And then this and that. But look, many of you will be familiar with Integza. So he does lots of amazing jet engine videos. And they possibly pulled him aside to talk about what he makes on YouTube. But everyone got through. No one got knocked back. So Nira saying you need a work visa. Yes, that makes sense. If you're going to the US to work, you need a work visa. I was only going to attend a convention. I wasn't paid, so didn't need that. I just said holiday, the convention. I didn't have anything in my bag that was dodgy. Last year I bought combat robots, which means I had to bring lithium polymer batteries. And they're not too bad. You just have to have them in carry-on and in a clear plastic bag. It's not such a big deal. But yes, I'm going to get a drink of water. But yeah, Cow Palace to host this sort of event was perfect. It was very remote, but huge. This brutalist concrete mega structure to host this crazy event. Just quickly, this is at the Adam Savage's cave. I didn't take many photos because I wanted to be respectful, but I just liked how the AMS for the bamboo has a hat, And yeah, they're running lots of printers over there, the tested crew, but they're also running Bamboo printers as well. So yeah, 2 AMSs on like a stack. I thought that was quite funny to look at. But yeah, so this is a vibe of the corridors of the open source event. So if there's a video, yeah, here we go. This is like, you know, watching your dad run through his holiday photos. Sorry, it's not the most professional thing. I couldn't really think of any other way to do it. So this is like a side corridor off the main hall. So there's the main stadium, I suppose, and then peripheral to that, there's all these walkways, and then there's big exhibition halls. So there was like 4 major exhibition halls, and they were just packed with people. This is early Saturday. Like, this is quite early in the day. And there was over 500 exhibitors, and I tried to see as much as I could. But as you can imagine, yeah, getting through the crowds, seeing everything I wanted to see, talking to everyone I wanted to talk to, it never happens. Last year I was really bad at it. This year I was like, okay, I'm going to move through, talk to people, see what I want to see. And I met so many amazing people. So many of you guys came up to me, say hi, which is so cool because I never get to the States. And I got to see so many projects that I just didn't even know existed, because it's so hard to filter through the noise of like social media now. Like the crap on YouTube now means that if you make a cool project and share it, it might not make it through the algorithm. And that really frustrates me. So I actually got to see people in person making cool things. And my goal is to show you at least some of that in this video. So if you didn't make the event or see these things, you can maybe check them out and give them some support. I was going to check the chats. Mitch saying, so too bad he couldn't bring the birds with me. That would definitely be a quarantine nightmare. I think Australia would have more of an issue with me doing that than bringing them into the States. But yeah, I think that's jail time, actually. Exporting Australian flora and fauna that's not like through the proper channels is very illegal. And people do smuggle like animals. It's horrific. But yeah, I don't think Popeye would have approved of a 12-hour flight. Yeah, Mitch, I did get to see you again, but yeah, it was crazy. Like, I saw everyone about once. There was not enough time to go back to any specific locations. So, what do we got? Okay, so in no particular order, this was, and again, I don't really remember everyone's names of things that I saw. So if you do remember the name of the maker in the videos I'm showing, or the name of the project or the team, feel free to share it. But these guys made a chessboard that plays itself, or you play and it automatically moves. So just like, it's a simple idea, right? It's a little XY gantry underneath the chessboard, picks the pieces up and moves them around. But I just thought it was just like a really nice, elegant way of doing it. And I really liked how it said, let me show you. It says, magic chess for wizards and lonely people. So it says, Kavir Gera, thank you for putting your name on it so I could actually say it. Yeah, I thought that was quite neat. So like a little computer connected, automatically playing chessboard. Just again, like people had weird little projects like this on display. All from all different fields. Next up, there was these guys. So this was playing, I forgot the name of the game. It's like a word puzzle, word salad thing, where you link up words and make them. And they had hacked an A1 Mini to play the game, and you could like race the robot, right, to play this word game. And you guys know how like my thoughts on Bamboo. Like I really like the machines, but they're a locked down system. They're proprietary. They're completely closed source. the first thing I went up to them, I'm like, how did you hack an A1 Mini? How did you make this machine, like, do your bidding like this, right? And the guys were like, that's a great question. So, something I've been saying for a long time on the channel, 3MF files, if you're not familiar, they're what you send to the Bamboo printers to print. They're like they're an archive. So they're similar to a zip file. So in the 3MF, you'll have like some information about the model, and you'll have G-code. So what these guys did is they essentially took the 3MF, hijacked it, replaced the G-code with the G-code that ran the script. So they're running like on their computer the algorithm that figures out all the words. Then they're loading it into a custom-made 3MF that the printer thinks is like a cube. Then they're loading it into the printer, and the printer's running that G-code, and it's running through to play the game, if that makes any sense. I just thought that was really cool. So, yes, these guys proved it. You can hack Bamboo printers by injecting your own G-code via a 3MF, which I am definitely going to try. At least now, they might update firmware in the future to stop this. But yeah, that's pretty neat. That's something to keep an eye out for. I'm not sure if anyone's covered it before. I think I did see someone talk about unpacking 3MFs to run custom slices with Bamboo printers, but they were doing it to do all sorts of wild things. Yeah, Mitch is saying it's annoying you can't just run stream raw G-code over serial. Yes, I agree. They had to run the file and then stop the file. So there is definitely limitations. They were saying they didn't even realize the printer was like that until they bought it. So they would have probably been better off with, like, I don't know, a Prusa Mini or like an Ender 3 or something. But either way, they got it to work, which is pretty neat. This is just random. This was a table with a scooter with saw blades on the wheels. And that spoke to me because I thought it was ridiculous. Alright, this is really cool. So, I've always been a fan of analog displays. And this caught my attention. Initially, I thought this was a industry project. I thought it was an industry product that like a signage company sold for thousands of dollars that you could buy and, set up in your coffee shop or Google Office or something. Really expensive. But it turns out this split flap display is actually an open source project. And I bought some of the flaps. So I had a chat to the guy behind it. I forgot his name. I'm going to assume it's Scott. Sorry, Scott, if you're watching. About these displays. So they essentially have a huge wheel of these flaps that sort of fold down and like whip to the front to make different digits. And to make split flaps, you need a lot of flaps. Like each one has like 50 something flaps. And they get rotated precisely using a small geared stepper motor. So the ones on AliExpress, for example, you've seen, they're like $5 or something. Although apparently not all of them are made equal. There's lots of variations. So again, we talked a lot about that, of how to find a good, cheap geared stepper motor. But these open source split flap displays use one of those geared stepper motors, some laser cut acrylic, and the flaps to make a split flap display. So the hardest part is the flaps. So I actually just bought some flaps off him. He has an Etsy store, and I just said, hey, I'll come back tomorrow, I'll grab some flaps. So I'm going to be building a 6-digit split flap display. I don't know what it's going to display. It could be anything. But I stopped at 6 digits because it gets pretty hefty and expensive with so many flaps. But yeah, really neat. Definitely check out his project if you're interested in split flaps, like analog displays. Like old-fashioned stuff you'd see at the airport or the train station, stuff like that. Really funky. Oh, is there ads playing? That's not great. YouTube has done a lot of things new. I do apologize if there's ads playing. They never used to play during streams, so sorry about that. Yeah, so Mitch, I feel like a solenoid and ratcheting mechanism would be more efficient. Maybe. That's not a bad approach. I have seen that done before. But these motors are very cheap. And drivers for them are very cheap now as well. So solenoids have a lot of metal in them. And I think the price to performance conversion probably wouldn't quite line up anymore. Maybe. Not sure. Have I seen his smart knob project? No, I have not seen his smart knob project. That sounds pretty funky. You can spell Angus and Popeye with just 6, that's all you need. Yeah, I was thinking of using it to display, like, the price of meme coins or something, so I can just look at them just to go, I don't know, something stupid like that. I'll see. Anyway, so that was really cool, good to meet him. I didn't get to talk to these guys, but I did get to film it. So this is like I don't know if it's open source, but it is a like 3D printed like marble game thing. It reminded me a lot of Zach Friedman's Hextraction, but like more as a arts piece versus a game. And I really liked how efficient the motor, the marble return motor was. So it's just taking the marbles in and just pushing them up that like vertical carousel, just one at a time. Rotate, 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 rotate. And then it loops around. And there's something just really beautiful about how... can you see that? I don't know. Maybe like that. There's something just really beautiful about how it just keeps looping like that, like a little bit of kinetic art. And lots of nice colors. So I don't know the name of this project, but it really tickled me because I've always wanted to do marble-based projects. Designing them is really difficult. Like designing the physical paths for marbles to run through is really hard. Like these guys have chosen very angular paths, which makes things easier. But to do like nice organic curves and things is really difficult with marbles. I don't know if any of you have tried to CAD that, but it's actually very challenging. Man, this is only just like the start of things I saw. Again, 500 projects, right? Like, so many things. Play. This was a really neat, like, marble sand sculpture. And it was, I want to say V1 Engineering. I can't remember. They do like an open source CNC. Sorry, brain fried. But this was just a really nice implementation of their CNC gantry that they did. I didn't get to talk to these guys. If you have what am I trying to say? I have been in touch with them before, but I didn't get to talk to them at open source because I was passing by. There was a huge crowd, and I was like, "Oh, cool sand machine," and I moved on. So I apologize. But yeah, that was a really nice implementation of a. Like there was actually a couple of these sand machines around. I've forgotten the name. There's a commercial one that's like a big circle, and it's like really expensive. So a lot of people were making their own versions of it, and to various degrees of success. And it looks really cool. I've always wanted to make one, but I've always thought that it would be interesting combining this concept with an infinity mirror. So an infinity mirror has a half silvered mirror at the front and a mirror at the back, and lights in the middle, and it makes this like, you ever been in an elevator with two mirrors on either side and you can just see like yourself forever? It makes that effect. So an infinity mirror looks really cool. I've always wondered, like, could I combine an infinity mirror with some sort of sand or marble sculpture or something? Like you'd need a finer, you need like a coarser powder so you can see the mirror behind you, but something like that, because you could have the magnet behind the mirror to move the ball around, and I think it'd be a really cool art piece. So yeah, V1 Engineering, thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate it. And yeah, I guess you could call it a glorified Etch-a-Sketch. It's sort of like a computer-controlled Zen garden. Like these things, as long as the motors are quiet, are very relaxing to look at. They make a pattern and then they'll rub it out and make another pattern and rub it out. So it's a very sort of relaxing robot, I suppose, or art piece to have. Wouldn't mind making one day. Oh yeah, ferromagnetic. Yeah, Matthew's saying ferromagnetic fluid running around the bearing on a glass mirror could work. Yeah, maybe. That's pretty cool. And John was saying the marble thing I just showed was called the track stacker. Thank you very much, John. Yeah, again, some of these things I couldn't get to talk to. I couldn't get to see. It was very, very rapid. I got to try these guys this CNC router out, but I didn't get to film it because I was trying it out. So it was an open source, or will be open source, version of a commercial product, which is like a handheld CNC router. So the best way to describe it is you locate it on a piece of wood with a router, and the actual machine itself will give you some degrees of like compliance. So if you move left and right, it'll hold the motor in space left and right, and you have a certain amount of wiggle room in your X and Y axes to keep the tool in the right spot. So as you move around a circle, for example, you won't be perfect, but the tool will move back and forth to continue that circular cut. So it's like a handheld, it's like a hand-operated CNC router, and it worked pretty well. They were showing me how it can draw and stuff, and it's definitely a project worth following because the commercial one's quite expensive, and not everyone has room for a full sheet CNC router. But if you wanted to do it by hand and still get very accurate results, it might be worth following. Yeah, Shaper, that's the one. Thank you, JTTV. Yeah, it's called the Shaper. Or Shaper Origin. I haven't kept up. I remember when it first came out. But yeah, that was pretty neat as well. And then yeah, I don't really think I need to give this project too much introduction. This is the Positron. Well, it's actually what the Positron's evolved into. And it's so cool to see this in person. So what's happened is the Positron team has teamed up with LDO Motors to make a kit. And it's available, if not now, very soon. And this 3D printer, it's sort of hard to sort of explain why it exists. It exists because it's just like solving a problem that no one really needs solved, but it's so cool in the way it solves it. It's a 3D printer that fits into a filament box. It's a 3D printer that folds down and becomes a compact little unit that you can transport, and you can unfold it and you can print with it. It's like, okay, that restriction, does it need to? No. Does it look absolutely amazing doing it? Yes. And that's the Positron. It does everything its own way, and it's incredibly unique. And something about this machine, you notice it's printing upside down as well. So Positron has a right-angled extruder, hot end. So the filament comes through at an angle and then gets melted and pushed through at 90 degrees up to the print bed, upside down, mind you. So this machine prints from the bottom up, which is great for stability because all the mass is down the bottom. Yeah, Rob's saying, create it for intellectual curiosity. That's a great way to put it. This machine is like, how far can we push this concept? How far can we go? Everything on this machine is done differently. They've approached these problems with new solutions. The belt's right on these weird 45-degree angles to drive the mechanics. And the print bed, okay, this blew me away. The print bed is clear. It's a glass sheet. So you can see the print upside down. Remember, this is upside down being printed. That glass sheet is heated. It is heated by a special thin coating. I don't remember what the material was, but it's a thin conductive coating that they run current through that heats up the glass plate. And it is thin enough to be transparent. So the quality control of that coating alone apparently is a nightmare. But they needed it to be transparent because that's the cool factor of this machine. You need to see it printing upside down. And it's amazing. So I don't really do kits very often, but I will probably make a Positron kit. It's a complicated machine to build. It's very complex, it's very fiddly, very small. But man, is it cool. Like, nothing else exists like this 3D printer. And lots of other creators have covered Positron before at other events. This is the first time I actually got to catch up with the team. Unfortunately, Jason from LEO Motors, I missed him He was around the stall usually, but when I came by, he wasn't there. So Jason, if you see this, I'm sorry. I really wanted to say hi. This event was just nuts. And Positron 3D, welcome guys. Just saying how cool this machine is, and I will probably be checking one out in future on the channel. But for now, definitely follow on the project because it's evolved so much since its initial conception. And it's everything on it is just premium components. It is without compromise, right? And it does come with a without compromise price, but that's what you get. You get an art piece of a 3D printer. This is a close-up of a previous version extruder. They've changed this now, but this gives you an idea of like the sort of crazy geometry they're working with. If you can see that, like absolutely madness. Just to get the form factor, like they needed it. They needed a bushing in the hot end, like just crazy. So yeah, really, really cool team, really cool project. Can't wait to see what's next. Alrighty. Next up, we have HueForge. HueForge, I haven't really covered on the channel, but I've always thought it's fascinating to actually see the prints in person and talk to some of the people helping run the project. Really, really cool. So, if you don't know, HueForge creates colored images using filament. So, it will create pictures using very scientifically chosen amounts of filament, building up layers by layers by layers. So the prints have a tactile quality. They actually have a surface to them. They have a texture. And what I never really considered is that different types of filament have different opacities. And I've just recently experienced it actually. So let me just show you an example. This is some black TPU. All right? And you think, okay, it's pretty black. I had a failed print. This is the failed print. It's not very black, is it? There's very little pigment in this TPU, one layer thick, and I can basically see through it. And all filament is like that. It has various levels of transmissibility, and I don't remember what they were calling it. I think it was TP value. I might be wrong, but calculating that is a huge part of HueForge to get the correct images. And it used to be really difficult. You'd have to print different layers and compare them. Now they have like a little device that you put the filament in, and it'll give you a value that you put into the software to tell you the value, and then you can use that to make your images. Really, really neat. And I just love, like, personally, I'm a really big fan of the dark color with fluoro colors on it. Like, there's the, in the video, there's a motorcycle, like it's very vaporwave. And it's got texture to it. Like, it's very, very cool. So I'm definitely going to try some HueForge stuff in future with my own pictures just to get that effect. Because I think it'd be really cool to have, like, as a decal on something. Like, they take a long time to print, but absolutely you get a really unique image and result out of it. TD value. Thank you, Mitch. You are a master of information. And CDG as well. I appreciate it. Cool. Yeah. Very, very neat. Also, sorry, very briefly shown in the video, but they had like a head with green like vines and grass around it. Yeah, it's very, very cool. It looks almost realistic. And that was that QR code, so for me to remember to scan. I came back to the slip flap displays when I bought some of the flaps. So this is just an example of how they go together. So they're laser cut with the flaps, and they run off a small geared step motor. Next up, we have Alex and his Escalator. So in several previous videos, I've printed this really neat Escalator model, and I got to actually come and say hi to him and see like what else he's been up to. And he'd made this like huge one with like a conveyor belt, and you could put ducks on it and they'd move across. And like, it's one of my favorite models, the original like Escalator model. There's a mini one, there's a motorized one now. He sells them on Etsy. Definitely very, very good quality models, worth checking out. All of his Escalator models. And there was a tiny little 3D printer on his booth as well. I didn't really get to check it out, but you can see there right at the end, there was a little 3D printer that someone else had made using, what was it, like CD-ROM, step motor components, like this little thing. It was absolutely cute and adorable and very, very neat. Sorry. Needing a lot of water. I didn't get sick, surprisingly. But definitely talking for 2 solid days, or 3 solid days, definitely felt like I was. So my throat is still recovering, but I didn't get ill, luckily. Voron 0.01. Yeah, maybe. Alright, going back to Marble Machines. I chatted with these guys for a while. So what they were working on, go back. What they were working on was a physics game of turning roller coasters, like roller coaster style like paths, into marble machines. So the idea is that like the roller coaster would have physics, and you could manipulate it to make it work the way you wanted, and then you could turn it into a marble path. So going back to what I was saying, it's really hard to design marble tracks in CAD software like Fusion 360. It's a 3D spline essentially, and that's hard enough to do, and that's not even considering the physics of the marble staying on the track or having enough momentum to keep going, etc., etc. So they were working on like it's almost gamified version of making these marble tracks, where you make a roller coaster track and then you could turn it into a marble track. Just someone's passion. And just made into a project. Like, really neat. Yeah, Teresa, I did not get con crud, thankfully. So yeah, again, unfortunately, I'm not sure the name of that project. I can't remember. But everyone, if you go to the open source website, everyone who exhibited is listed there. So you should be able to go and find specific details of each of these projects. And then the one that many of you probably want to see is the Micronics SLS. So the full story, they sent these machines out. They're on Kickstarter right now. They've hit their goal. They sent these machines out for review to a couple of US-based creators. They weren't going to send it over internationally for obvious reasons. And even in the US, some of their machines arrived broken. Some of them arrived with cracked components because a lot of it was 3D printed prototypes. But this is a low-cost SLS 3D printer. So it makes nylon parts using a sintering process, using a laser. So SLS stands for selective laser sintering. And traditionally, this process has been very expensive. Like, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get an SLS 3D printer. And these guys have managed to make it much, much cheaper. Still not something you just buy, but much more affordable than other SLS machines. So the things to consider with SLS is you don't need support material because the powder supports the print as it's being formed. It's a big cake of this nylon powder. So you can do stuff like, this benchy. No problem at all. It does not need support material. The issue, though, is you have this fine powder. And they're saying it's about 50 micron grain size. And it is literally microplastics. It is literally nylon powder. And to deal with that, once you take the prints out of the machine, you have this cake of just loose powder with the parts inside. You have to remove the powder from the parts and then dust them off. And essentially it's like excavating a fossil or something. You have to get all the dirt off. And that dirt is microplastics. So you need a proper filtration system, and it's very difficult to keep a clean environment when using SLS. So I really, really hope that when people back this machine, they take that seriously and wear proper PPE, have a proper ventilation system, because I don't think that their current system with a strong fan and filter is quite adequate. I would like to see a clear dome, almost like a sandblasting dome, where you put the parts in there with a cake and then it's sucked through a vent into a storage unit to be reused. You can reuse the powder to a degree. I'm not sure how much you can reuse the powder, because in my experience it becomes fluffy because you heat it up, right? You heat it up to just below the sintering point, so that heat cycle can degrade the nylon. But yeah, otherwise, incredible quality parts. And I just laughed because they had my maker coin like there as a demo print, like literally like my coin, and I'm like, you printed my coin as a demo print and you didn't even like get in touch with me at all. I don't care too much. I just thought it was a bit funny. But the thing about these guys is they're young. They're a young team, so I wish them the best of luck. They're not coming from like a huge behemoth 3D printing company. And they're doing things differently, like from a fresh perspective, which is really neat, but they're also pretty fresh. So, what was really neat is my kittens are meowing. You'll see them in a bit. What I thought was the coolest thing, almost cooler than SLS becoming affordable, was the way that they packed the cake. So, it's called 3D nesting. So imagine you've got like a 3-dimensional print volume and you want to fill it with as many parts as possible. When you don't have support material, you don't need to worry about parts being on top of parts, or orientation for that matter. You just want to pack them in. So this is usually really difficult to do by hand. I used to do it by hand. The software to do it used to be really expensive. They just used Unreal Engine and added physics and collisions. And it works really well. And you can, like, jiggle it. And it's like, why didn't people do this before? It's, like, such a clever out-of-the-box solution for what was such a difficult problem. It is genius. So, I wish that team the best of luck. It's Micronics. I wish them the best of luck. Kickstarter is a crap platform. I hate Kickstarter. There's been so many people ripped off from Kickstarter, so I just really hope they can deliver. But we'll see how we go. You have to excuse me. I will have to just give one of my kittens some attention, and then we'll get back to the stuff. Okay, hold on. Little introduction anyway. Hi, Tully. Hey, Tully. Hey, sweetie. So this is Tully, and she's about 6 months old, and she is very needy, and she likes to come in this room because there's lots of fun things to do, like all the synthesizers and stuff. And when she hears me in here but the door's closed, she's like, oh, I want to come in. So, cat bum. Nope. There she goes. So she hears me in here and starts meowing. And now Prince is meowing, who's our other one. So I'll just grab him very quickly. Come on. Okay. Alright, and this is Prince, which stands for Prince of Darkness. And he's a lot bigger than Tully. He's also just very chill boy, doesn't mind. And these were street kitties, so they were born on the street, in the back of a friend's house, actually. And the mum gave birth to 6 kittens, and we were like, we'll take 2. So I've never had cats in my life, but Lady Muse has, and they're adorable, and we love them very much. Don't we, Prince? Yes. Yes, we do. Anyway. They just want to come and see what's going on, and then they can head out, and I'll close the door and continue the video. Come on. Out you go. The expression herding cats is definitely accurate. Alright, well, they're going to have to stay in here for a little bit because they're running away from me now. Yeah. Alright. So, what's up next? We have... I will have to kick them out very shortly because they will start jumping on everything. Cocoa Press, which was really cool to see how far Ellie has come, and I really appreciated the pins that they did with E3D. So, you know, purging homophobia and printing with pride, I fully support this. So, I actually wore these pins on my panels. So that was really cool. Cocoa Press is still a kit. So it's a chocolate 3D printer, and those are actual edible chocolate 3D printed samples. Tully is now on the frickin' synthesizers. I will have to evict her. Hold on. Girl. Come back. Nope, gotcha. They keep just coming in. Welcome to cat ownership. Alright. We're back. Oh dear. Yeah, sorry about that. She's a really good jumper, and she's figured out she can jump on the studio monitors, which is not great. And I've had to take most of the phone down already. So, we'll see how we go. Okay, continuing. Where was I? Sorry. Cocoa Press. Edible chocolate 3D prints. Definitely keep an eye out on that if you're interested. As I said, it's still a kit. I didn't get a photo of the machine, but you can just look up Cocoa Press. She's doing really, really well for such a unique device. Like, the biggest issue is she's figuring out how to make like the Voron interface accessible to like bakers. So, like, you want it to make it as easy as accessible as possible. And the Voron team is actually like helping design the printer as well, so it's a really cool collaborative effort, and really cool to see what happens next. Proper Printing's crazy 3D printer. I didn't really get a good oh, here we go. I did actually. There we go. So you should go check his video out on this. It is a dual gantry 3D printer, so it has two moving gantries, and the whole print bed is a like a hot plate, like for food. And what I thought was really cool is just how intricate the trusses and the triangulation and the sort of supports were for the gantries. It's a really, really amazing project. I wouldn't have had the patience to design something like that. There was Crunch Labs. So Crunch Labs was, I think, a sponsor. If not a sponsor, they had a large part to play in open source this year, and they had a huge like corridor to themselves with all the packs. So for those who don't know, Crunch Labs is a like subscription box service that Mark Rober started. He's got a whole team running it, and they're like projects for kids, and really neat, like a really cool idea. And I actually for years always wanted to do something like this. It's impossible for me to do it, especially from Australia. Logistics makes no sense. And they had a huge part to play in the event. Another sand machine, because, you know, why not? A much more cost-effective one, which apparently is a Crunch Lab box, which is pretty cool. Oh, so John, you're saying, okay, so the dual gantry 3D printer, John is saying he couldn't heat the hot plate because it's 220 volts. So funnily enough, yeah, I sort of forgot that the voltage difference is so big. Like here, like 220 volts is normal. In the US, it's 110 or 120 volts. And in the airport, I thought I lost my power bank, so I bought a mains powered power bank. So it's got little prongs that come off it, and it plugs into the wall at US voltage. And it's like I only got on the plane. It's only when I got on the plane that I realized that this power bank is now effectively completely useless to me, because if I plug it into Australian voltage with the built-in prongs and an adapter, it'll explode because I'll be putting it literally at double, like 100 volts more than it should be running at. So who knows, maybe I'll do that for fun. Or I'll keep it for next year because I'll definitely be coming back. More fun stuff. I love these smoke cannons that do the rings. Really cool. So yeah, a lot of Crunch Lab stuff. And then we got the combat robot stuff. So last year I brought a small combat robot, and this year you guys would have seen I turned the last year's badge into a combat robot, which is here somewhere. This is a bag of stuff from the event. Here we go. Here we go. So you would have seen this video. If you haven't, I'd definitely go check it out. It's actually a lot of fun, more effective than I thought it would be, turning the PCB into a chassis. And this little ant weight robot actually does pretty well. It goes pretty hard. But what I really wanted to see at the event was the heavyweights. So, you know, my thing weighs 150 grams. These things weigh 220 pounds, or like 100 kilos, 110 kilos roughly. And there was heaps of cool teams. You would have seen on BattleBots. So there was like the Mad Catted team, there was Malice, there was Ray Billings with Tombstone, and the guys behind like Manta, which I haven't seen in person before. It's like a really big drum spinner. And just seeing all of these amazing machines in person. Look at me with my fancy Maker's badge. I made my Maker's badge into a thing. Here we go. So this is Manta, and I just, like, it's hard to tell just how ridiculously big this is. Like, that drum is big. Large. It's caught a fish this big. But what, like, in terms of how combat robots have evolved, what really surprised me is just how much, like, of the ant weight tech has gone into, like, the heavyweights. Like, these guys are running high voltage systems with, like, brushless motors on everything. Like, Manta's drum is 2 in-runner brushless motors, which is insanity power. Like, just a few years ago, people were running mag motors, which are powerful, but they're large, heavy DC motors. And they run at, like, a low, like, 24, maybe 36, but 24 volts. These systems are running, like, 50 volts plus to get the efficiencies for these really large brushless motors. And it's so cool to see these guys. So, yeah, that was pretty neat. What else? Oh, okay. This is just out of context. But that's the view from the Cow Palace going back to the hotel. Like, literally just nothing. It's like a coastal road with scrubland and some lot of sort of ships waiting to dock. But it was in the middle of nowhere. There wasn't, like, when we landed, we went from the airport to the hotel. There wasn't a pharmacy, like a CVS or anything. There wasn't a convenience store. There wasn't even a petrol station nearby. It was like just a void. And the hotel had a marketplace where you could buy stuff. And I was not prepared for the rip-off prices that you guys have in your hotels. Australian hotels are expensive, but at least they kind of understand that you're paying a lot for the room, so we won't rip you off too much. There was a bottle of water, like, 1 liter, right? Spring water, $10 US. That's like $16 Australian. The freaking buffets in the morning. So like, you wanted a hot breakfast? That's nice. $25 US plus tax plus tip. For freaking like eggs and bacon on toast. I was not prepared for how crazy the prices were. So thankfully, YouTube actually sponsored a creator lounge at the event where they had pastries and yogurts and things. And it was really nice. But man, I cannot understand. I cannot understand. Like, we've had a cost of living crisis in Australia. Absolutely, stuff's gotten more expensive. But like, it's bacon and eggs. And it's like, you want a tip for serving a buffet? I don't get it. I don't get it, guys. I'm sorry. Funny. Anyway, just sorry about that rant. It was really a great hotel otherwise. Like, the accommodation was amazing. The vibe was really good. It's just like, I couldn't believe just the prices. Yeah, I've heard San Fran is particularly egregious when it comes to prices. Jumping around the place, I actually got a really close look at the Glitter Bomb video builds from Mark Robert's videos. So this is just before everything opened, so I actually got to get a freaking tripping over my words. This is before the hall opened, so I got to have a close look at the builds before they got swamped. There we go. And I was just amazed at how much 3D printing stuff there was in these. Like, their whole thing's printed. It's a really large part. And I didn't get a video of it, or maybe I did. The latest one, I don't know if it's here, has a drone in it. I vaguely remember it from the video. It's so unnecessary. It like has a flap that opens up and a drone comes out. It's so ridiculous. This is a giant keyboard. I just wanted to go say hi to these guys because I missed them at last year's open source. And I was sort of like saying, how do you press the middle keys? It's slow mode because I'm using a pan mode. It's like, how do you press the middle keys? It's like, oh, you just kind of just have to reach over. So I was like thinking it'd be really cool to have a giant keyboard that you can stomp on the keys. So you literally get on top of it and you have to stomp around on keys. And then you could like try to like type out a Twitter message by stomping on keys. I think that as an evolution would be pretty cool. But they were saying their whole idea of this was like price to performance. So they've made their own switch actuators with a micro switch and cardboard. So the whole thing's cardboard and it sort of pushes down on the switches. Yeah, you have an issue when you need more than 2 people to do a Control-Alt-Delete. Yeah, you go bounce, 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 bounce. Yeah, so really funny. Yeah. Pedestrian was saying, just going back on the exchange rate stuff, exchange rates absolutely kill me. Australian 15 for a coffee. Yeah, that was nuts. And open source food trucks didn't cater for my dietary requirements. Yeah. So Lady Muse is actually like celiac, can't have gluten. Literally nothing the entire weekend had was celiac friendly, except like not food, like yogurts. So this time they didn't come with me, and I'm kind of thankful they didn't, because it would have been trying to order Uber Eats every day, like twice a day, which we had to do. Actually, to be fair, we had to do that in San Fran last time. And yeah, that was crazy. So I really feel for you if you have dietary requirements in the US. Even in Australia, it's hard to get like proper gluten-free stuff, but usually there's like at least a couple of options. But yeah, it's tough. Everything has wheat in it. Everything has gluten in it. Like, things you wouldn't expect have gluten in it. Did I see Cody's suit? Yes, I did. I don't know if it's in this video, but I did. So Cody's lab, Cody made he didn't make the spacesuit. Someone else made the spacesuit, but he wore a fully functional spacesuit, like enclosed atmosphere. Like, if he had a minder, because he could have died if the air system failed in it. Like, it's airtight, actually, like a spacesuit system. And he was wandering around. It was so cool. Hey, Ben. Team Panic. Good to see you, dude. Just going through open source and all the crazy stuff that happens. Had a quick chat to these guys with their vertical takeoff design. Didn't really get to talk too much, but I thought it was very pretty. Looked pretty cool. I didn't see any videos of it flying, but pretty neat. Nice design. Then we have these guys that made a remote-controlled... I can't remember what it's called. It's the leader of the Daleks, Davros, I would say. I think it's Davros's chair. And this, like, really nice build, prop build, etc. But what I thought was really cool is it was remote controlled. So I sort of like the idea of putting someone in for a photo shoot and then you could just drive them off. Be like, all right, bye, and just send them off with a remote control if you wanted to. So it was a really good mix. This is a good example of like the range of projects at the event. You had complicated engineering projects, like pure engineering, pure science projects. Then you had prop stuff like this and everything in between. Davros, thank you. Nailed it. Next up, the Voron dudes. So, this was only a short video. I may have been interrupted. Yeah, okay. It's only a very short video. So, this is their latest idex, Voron. And I think it's called Phoenix. I can't remember. But an idex has two extruders on the same rail. So the benefit of idex over something like the bamboo multi-material or the Prusa multi-material on the Mark IV is that you can park a head and then print with the other head and then park the head. So the Prusa XL with the tool changer is like the best way of doing multi-material because you can just pick up a whole new tool and send it, right? So that's like the best way, but it's obviously the most mechanically complex way. So the second best way, in my opinion, is using an idex system where you have independent dual extruders. So you can either print two at once, like you can print two parts at the same time, like identical parts, because it has to have the same Y movement. Or you can print like TPU and ABS, and you go bam, bam, bam like that. So really neat to see that. And it's good to catch with the Voron guys as well. And that's a shot of their power supply for some reason. And you know, it says Ivan Miranda approved on the top right corner. I signed it as well, saying, yeah, Maker's Muse approved. This is like their historical lineup of Vorons going through the evolution. Lincoln, did Prusa buy the design of the XL from E3D? It looks similar. I don't know the history of that. I don't know if they bought the design, but yeah, E3D discontinued it. And the timeline's all fuzzy. I think E3D was first with the tool changer design. And then Prusa came along, because it took Prusa ages to bring out the XL, right? So, I'm not sure what happened there. I think E3 just didn't find it viable. But, yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah, good bit of, not conspiracy, but behind the scenes information maybe went on. Next we have blasters. These are custom 3D printed Nerf guns, Nerf blasters. And I just remember what Nero 3D said, so I'm going to just skip that. I hope it doesn't ruin the stream. Out of Darts do that, so you should go check them out. And there was heaps of really cool variations. Then we've got this, which was a... This is really hard to explain. A ride-on walking table. So this had enough lipos to run several battle bots. And did I have a video? I thought I had a video of it walking. All right. So I'll have to do another video to recap on this. But there's a tabletop that goes on top of it. This thing walks using a really ridiculous like Core XY thing with the legs. I'm not doing it justice. I'm sorry. And it could actually walk with like you sitting on it, and it's the most overbuilt thing I've ever seen. I'm not sure. I had a video of it walking. I'm not sure where that's gone. So apologies. If anyone knows the name of the project, put it in the comments. A few more combat robot stuff, and then this, which was Bowler Studio. These dudes were really cool to talk to, really passionate, and from what I understand, it's a very complicated thing for me to understand because I'm not full robotics. I do remote control robots, right? I don't really do like kinematics and that sort of thing. It's a modeling workspace which is code driven, so a bit like OpenSCAD but more advanced, or so they say. They said it's sort of more logical, that then you can use to do the physics simulations and kinematics of robots. So I said, like, could you do something as simple as like a 3-servo wiggling thing? Yes, you could. But they were using it to do like, it's sideways. Oh well. They're using it to do like little like robots, like little walking like cat and dog robots, using this fully open source thing called Bowler Studio. So I haven't looked into it since arriving back home. But from the demos that they showed me, you could get like a limb and stretch it, and then the CAD would update to stretch to match the limb, and also it would sort of simulate the movement to see if it could actually still walk or not. And yeah, Bowler Studio is what it's called. So there you go. I will be heavily investigating this and maybe doing a video of it in the future if I can understand it. But it is very neat. I just noticed that YouTube has a pop-up saying ads will run for some viewers, and I have an option to skip them down there. So yeah, it looks like YouTube now shoves ads into live streams. Fantastic. Look, the monetization of this platform is pretty rubbish these days. I do understand why that would be desirable for some people, but a live stream? Really? Like, you can't see me. You'll miss stuff. That's awful. Anyway, okay. Moving on. After the event, we went to Crunch Labs for a party, and I won't go through it too much. Just a massive location, massive warehouse. Everything was just crazy. I quite liked this little thing on the wall. This is like a view of it. Yeah, look at it go. Just like lots of stuff like that. Really heavily like renovated, clean, but they had real like workshops and stuff in other locations that were more heavily used. This is like where you take people like me to sort of see what's going on and treat them to a good time. And just, I'm not going to go through it too much, like way above my pay grade, right? Like the Crunch Labs channel itself is huge now and has teams of people making videos. But I just like the fact that they were like, okay, we've got some YouTubers here. They had the actual 10 million subscriber play button in this table full of BBs, and you could just spin it around and play with it, right? Like, this is the actual play button that, Mark got. And that is real time. That is not slowed down. Just the satisfying, the fact that it's so heavy, it's got so much inertia. This satisfying table of BBs. Ridiculous. Like, no one would normally do this, but it's Crunch Labs, so they would do this. And I was there for like a good half an hour. After like 3 solid days of talking to people, non-stop, meeting people, signing things, doing panels and talks, very little sleep. I was just like in a trance, playing with this very heavy and satisfying object and sliding it around on this amazing table. Yeah. So they gave us a tour. Very cool to see what they're doing. I do support making educational kits for kids. Absolutely. And yeah, there was drinks and food trucks and stuff. It was a big event. A lot of money. A lot of these things were like you're surprised, like, where's this money coming from? It's like, because the areas around open source were very run down, to say the least. But yeah, I got to see, they're like, what if I had more space, I would do the same. I'd have like a museum of old projects I'm proud of. So they had all of Mark's like previous video projects from videos in this special room. Something I never noticed about the Bullseye robot is that he was running 6 motors with cable drive to it. So you only need 2 motors actually for XY, which is all this is doing. But the speed at which it moves would have required so much acceleration and so much torque and power that he's gone with just 6 directly driven motors with single cable, so not a return cable, to it, and they're all in tension, and they control the movement of the dartboard. That's an older video. I haven't watched it for a while. But I just like, it's things you don't notice when you see videos on YouTube, just the level of detail that is just often overlooked. And I had another thing looking at his like giant water blaster and thing, but I'm not sure where that's gone. And then finally, there was this in the San Francisco airport, because why not? You know, it is the land of the startups, right? It's a robot arm that makes you drinks. Wow. Sign up now for the first round of seed funding. It looked amazing. Like, it waved at you and stuff. It looked so cool. I don't know how viable the business model is, but it looked incredible. And it was very definitely getting lots of attention. But yeah, that was pretty sick. And there's Tully looking attractive as always. John saying the area around open source isn't that run down. It's just how much for America looks. Ugly, cheap commercial buildings. Yeah, that's what really sort of took me by surprise. It's just how run down stuff looks when there's lots of open space. Whereas here in Australia, even where I am, any space is valuable. And everything is constantly snapped up, like instantly. There's no wasted space. There's no empty space. There's no cheap space. It's all just instantly used up. Which definitely took me by surprise. But I guess there's a lot more open space there versus here. It's just hills and, you know, forests and deserts. Yeah, and I think that's all I managed to film. I saw so much more. I'll go back to the kitties in a little bit if people are keen. That's all I managed to film, apart from a few videos that haven't made it onto that slideshow for some reason. I saw maybe a quarter of what was on show. Yeah, so yeah, El Terrela, I'm sorry, I didn't know where the musical was. So they didn't tell us where stuff was. We got told there was like exhibition halls, and that's it. And I found out afterwards that there was a whole hall with synthesizers and stuff I didn't know existed. And I'm really bummed about that. So I missed a lot. But also I saw a lot more than last time. And I got given a lot of swag. So I might just go through some of the swag because it's pretty cool. Downtown San Fran. Yeah, a few people were like, oh, we're catching the AI taxis. That was the hack pack from the Mark Rober thing. Might do something with that. What else do we have? I got given lots of maker coins, which is really cool. So it's so interesting to see how, like, maker coins as a concept have evolved over the years. Like, people are now doing multi-colored printing as if it's just like a thing, like it's easy. Like, that's Zach Friedman's maker coin, or maker chip. This is more like a poker chip. And funnily enough, he told me this was made in the slicer. So you'll have to go follow his channel to find out how, because I think he's insane. Like, I think he's nuts. I don't know how he would have designed this in a slicer, but he did. This is one of my favorite things. This is a little mini 3D printed Manta from Team Manta. They were kind enough to give this to me. Go on, focus on it. And again, most people were printing these multicolor prints on bamboo 3D printers. Because how else would you do them? Like to have this level of detail, this reliability, there's not many other options at that price point. And it's really cool to see now. Oh yeah, CNC Kitchen. Stefan actually sponsored open source, which is wild to me. So I use these. This is not sponsored, by the way. This is just going through the bag from the event. I use the heatset inserts that he sells all the time. So to have more, very, very nice. And it's really cool to see another creator in the 3D printing space branch out to find success in something that isn't just trying to make viral YouTube videos. Because you can't make a sustainable business trying to make viral videos. I'm only able to do what I do because you guys support me on the Makers Muse community and because you buy my files. The videos themselves, like a review, forget it. Like, it doesn't make much at all. But I'm happy to keep doing them because these companies need to be held to account and you need to be told a fair and honest opinion on what these machines are actually like. So that's why I keep doing reviews, but it's not exactly sustainable on its own. That was this year's badge. So you notice that it has a cow coming out of it. Very cool. A bit bigger than last year's. So maybe not suitable for a combat robot this time, but maybe something else. So PCBWay were the sponsor this year. JLC PCB were the sponsor last year. There was meant to be components for this. Obviously, time constraints meant it didn't happen. But you could literally wire this up with the right components and it will start blinking. So I think some booths were actually selling components to actually wire this up so you could solder it up. Desynced, probably. I'm running a separate camera to audio setup, but deal with it, I guess. And one more maker coin as well. Pretty cool. I can't remember who did this one, but printing a multicolor QR code is wild. And I think there's a few other things, but yeah, that'll do it. Not a huge amount this year because I ran out of space. We did get a few things from like a creator pack, like a giant Among Us, which is somewhere. I'm not sure. I think it's downstairs. I'll show that in a future video. But yeah, overall, crazy event. Flew back on the Monday. So the flight back from Monday wasn't direct, unfortunately. It was to LAX, and then from LAX to Sydney, 14 hours on I think it was American Airlines. Wasn't great. Wasn't very good. Workable, but not great. Oh, the orange coin is from Positron. Thank you very much. Have I tried the cookie CAD filament yet? No, I haven't. It is in the box. That is something else I got, which is very kind. I got, yeah, like, luggage is always difficult. Last time I had to buy a second bag. This time I'm like, I only have one bag. I came with the whole side empty, and it filled up with stuff. Like, it doesn't help that Will, like, gave us a plushie Among Us, like, toy, like, plush toy to stick in, but I did manage to make it fit. Yeah. But, so... going to these events is really interesting because I'm a bit of an introvert. I think a lot of YouTubers are introverts. We like to make videos talking to cameras. Like, you're all watching this, I'm chatting to you through the chat, but it's different to talking to people in person. Going to these events is insane for someone who's kind of introverted. Like, I did a panel with, like, it was Michael Reeves, James Britton, Mr. Volt, and Odd J. These are all other, like, robot makers in various spheres. Like, obviously people know Michael Reeves. And it was in that huge central hall with just a packed out audience. Now, I know a lot of them came to see Michael, which is absolutely fair enough. And I got to say hi to Michael and actually, like, chat to him properly once ever, because I've been following his videos since he started. But just the idea of having that many people in person come up to you and watch you and that, it's very visceral. And it's such a trip, but I get worn out from it. It's like, it's the drain. I'm coming back and I'm like, I'm keen to do videos, but also it's like, I need a holiday. Because it's not like a holiday when you're doing so much crazy stuff. But what was really cool is talking to so many creators. Teresa's saying auditory processing issues make people in person very hard. For you, I'm very similar. When I'm in a busy room with lots of people talking, I really struggle to pay attention because I latch onto everyone's conversation. It's really annoying. But the real benefit of going to this event is it's inspired me and motivated me to keep making good content. So it's been pretty rough over the last few years to sort of continue that grind, right? Of like, okay, I make 3D printing content. I love 3D printing and I love what it's become. But how much more do you make of 3D printing stuff, right? But talking to people at this event, it became very clear to me that there's a new breed of makers who use 3D printing as a tool, which is something I've always wanted to happen, but it's only sort of just clicked to me that it's actually happening now. People who would have never considered getting a 3D printer are now using them because they're easier to use. But that means they haven't been part of that, like, 10-year runway of learning what, like, all the minutiae of the FDM printing process is, like filaments to use, layer heights, seams, how to set up prints, that sort of stuff. And it's like, I sort of came to realize that all those old videos, they were very useful at the time, but half of them were done in, like, Simplify 3D, which I definitely don't want to show. And, like, I sort of came back realizing people need updated basic tutorials, and also I should be continuing to use 3D printing as a way of sort of showing that it's a tool to empower your creativity, which has always been my mantra. And now I've got cats. I'm like, there's all these ideas bubbling in my head of how to use 3D printing in cool projects to show people that if you're not tech savvy, you can jump into 3D printing. Here's the things you should know. And, like, I've got a new direction, which is really, really fun. Is it making me feel old? No, surprisingly not. At the event, talking to creators and stuff, we're all kind of in the same boat. We've all, like, apart from a few new creators, a lot of us have been doing YouTube for 10 years or so. And I think I actually felt, like, empowered again, to be honest, because everyone's, like, sort of talking about things that they're doing, things that they've been struggling against, things that they've overcome. Shorts, like, everyone's like, Angus, you don't do shorts. What the hell are you doing? Why aren't you doing shorts? You have to do shorts. So I'm doing shorts now. I'm sorry. But I'm making sure I'm unticking subscriber so they're not getting sent to you, because the YouTube algorithm's changed. People don't find videos through the main page anymore. They just look at shorts. And if I can show someone that 3D printing is really cool using a short, and then they go watch a longer video linked to that short, fine. Fine by me. I don't have to like it, but if it works, it works. Because I didn't know you could link videos to shorts. I thought shorts were standalone, like, wasted time dopamine hits, right? But what you can do with a short is if you have a video, you can link it into that short. So, for example, if I did a short of this ant weight, showing like it hitting stuff, and be like, learn how I made it. Click the link. Maybe, just maybe, that might get some people to click it. Yeah. As long as your shorts don't have cargo pockets. That's a useful pair of shorts. So it's an interesting time, an interesting place to be, and I'm super motivated to do more stuff. So, which is why this is a new setup, right? I have resisted buying a new computer for years, and that monitor, this thing here, it's a super ultra wide, but it's only 1080p times 2. So it's actually not very good, but I bought it and it cost a lot of money, and I sort of forced myself to use it, and it's been having like weird glitchy issues for years, like since I bought it. Basically, it's getting worse and worse as it gets colder. I'm like, I need to commit to doing stuff that makes my life easier. So this is my phone with the as a webcam, because I was using a C920. It's a little bit higher quality, and this is a setup where I can just make good quality tutorials for people. I might, yeah, Mojo, I might make some music videos. I did do a video on like my synthesizers and stuff, but really I think what people need is to, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments what you would like to see. But I think people just need accessible, up-to-date information on this technology so they don't get bogged down and burnt out by, you know, oh, what printer should I buy? What am I printing correctly? Why do my prints keep failing? Oh, okay. Back in the day, it used to be, oh, your layer height's wrong, or sorry, used to be like, oh, your first layer is wrong, right? Nowadays, is that really the cause? If you've got something like a Prusa Mark IV or a Bamboo like X1, is that probably going to be the cause? Probably not. It might most likely be, oh, you've sliced a file where the first layer is like, you know, a tiny contact point, and it comes out like this, and so it just breaks the part off. It's more likely going to be like a setup problem than an actual hardware problem. So I sort of want to tackle that and help people overcome those issues, like newcomers. But also, yeah, I will be doing old complex CAD tutorials and things, because that's just what I love. Like, I've been using the Form workspace in Fusion 360, Fusion, a lot more lately. So Form is where you push and pull shapes, and then you use that to model on with a timeline. It's very complex and complicated and hard for me to do, but it's actually very effective for making organic shapes compared to surface like lofts and things like that. Cat videos are great for your monetization. Yeah, look, again, like, I don't believe in using animals for like viral stuff. With the cockatoos, for example, I love them to bits. They're just wild birds, but I sort of do a cockatoo video every year kind of thing as a sort of just like a little like treat. And like, I feed them all the time. They're lovely animals, but I wouldn't try to sort of bank on that. Same with the cats. Like, yeah, cat videos are absolutely a cheat code for virality. People use them all the time. But like, these little cats, I got them just because, like, well, they sort of fell on my lap. But they're a bit of like a mental health, like, enjoyment thing. I love them to bits. I love looking after them. I love how like stupid and silly they are. And I will do videos around them to sort of show my love of them, but I'm not really going to try to do ridiculous, like Maker's Muse's cat video channel now. Alright, Tetranaut, good to see you again. Catch you around. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. These events really set perspective as to what people are doing, what people are looking for, and just meeting other creators and seeing like what they're going through and how they're overcoming this new landscape of content, which is really crazy. Like, there was a lot of questions about AI and stuff on the weekend, a lot of booths as well. It was San Francisco after all, and the overwhelming response is that creators are very cagey about it and not really keen on it. Like, again, it depends on what kind of AI, but like the stuff that users learns off your content, for example, and spits it out. Are we supportive of that? Not really. But stuff that, for example, is like almost Jarvis from Iron Man that might make, you know, accessibility better. Like CAD, you can tell your AI, you know, put some holes in that plate and paint it, you know, red. That sort of stuff, very, very keen on. So it's really interesting to see this stuff change so fast. And it's, you got to be on your toes. It's just changing really quickly. Do I think open source is in the black? Can we'll keep this going? I'm not sure. The expenses for an event like this are immense. So you're looking at a humongous venue with a lot of staff, because there was checkpoints for creators and you know, the keeping people out of areas they shouldn't be, and some people did sneak in and got found out and kicked out. But I hope he has the cost of the tickets was huge. Like, it was a really expensive ticket. So I hope he's able to make back on the event, because the first one I don't think he did. It was so crazy how expensive that pier was for him, like all the union stuff and everything. But for this one, I think it's a better venue. I think it's better value. So I think he probably made it back this time. But we'll see. They say he's coming back for 2025, so I'd assume it's viable. He's going to keep going. Yeah, $200 for a ticket was crazy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Very, very expensive. But the tickets for the next year one, the early bird, are like less than half that. So if you wanted to go to the next year's one, now will be the time to get them at a good price. Did I check out the Nerf blasters in open source? I did. I was going to show them in my slideshow, but then YouTube has a weird policy with anything that looks like a blaster being on streams. So I haven't. Sorry. But I did. I talked to the guys, and they're really cool. The mechanisms they're using to make them, and the rate of blasting is very impressive indeed. But yeah. I think now's a good time to leave it. I can go get the cats again if you want. They might be sleeping now. They've stopped bothering me. For those who are worried about the cats and the cockatoos, it's actually been a good thing. So the issue we had before is the cockatoos were coming on the balcony and they were starting to eat the fly screen when I wasn't home. They were trying to be disruptive and territorial. So there's like the big bully cockatoos, right? You would have seen in my previous videos. So with the cats, they're indoor cats, but they come into the glass up to the window where the balcony is, and the big bully cockatoos freak out. Because it's like a threat. It's on their turf, and like they were flying around the house squawking for an hour when it first happened. It was really funny. They've gone. They don't come back, but Edwina comes back all the time because she is like smart enough to know that there's a glass barrier. The cats can't get out. She's watching them. But she knows that she lands, and I put the cats away. I can come out and give it food. Popeye, though, he's been suffering for a while with, like, being able to get anything past the other cockatoos, let alone being scared of the cats. So he comes, and I can feed him sometimes. But if there's anything nearby he sees as a threat, indoors or outdoors, he'll fly away to a nearby tree or house roof and just sort of sit there. Poor darling, like, he is so skittish. So he's been having issues getting fed anyway, but I know he's fed at other houses. I've seen him at several other houses happily eating on what they feed him, so I'm not too worried about that. He's got other sources of food, and he does still pop around. I just put the cats in another room, and sometimes he'll come down. So yeah, they actually do coexist fairly well. They're reasonably cautious of each other, which is good, as it should be, because I know a cockatoo could mess up a cat just as much as a cat could have a go at a cockatoo. Like, it'll be a pretty fair fight. All right, I'm gonna go about the cats. Be right back. Okay, one sec. I've got to tally again. Yeah. There you go. Look at this. Look up there. She loves the jacket danglies. Danglies. They're the sweetest cats. Like Tully and Prince, they snuggle with each other. They look after each other. They give each other little licks. Like, absolutely sweetie. She was having a little lie down, so she's all sort of tired. Hello. Say hello. Oh, fascinating. He's like, can I go down now? There you go. And Prince is sleeping, so I won't bother him. But yeah, anyway, this has been awesome, guys. Thank you for hanging out. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm really keen to get back into showing you more content. I have a review of the PO Poly Magneto X on the way. Huge machine, very large 3D printer, very cool with the magnetic linear motors. So that's on the way. And as I said, tutorials and stuff are going to come, and a few other projects which I'm looking forward to sharing, but I won't yet, just in case they take longer than I expect. Anyway, if I saw your open source, it was awesome. If I didn't, I hope to see you again next year, because I'm definitely going to be going back. And I'll catch you again very shortly. Bye, guys. Oh, look who's here. You cannot escape. You have to come in and investigate. Always have to investigate. Yes, you have to investigate. Hello.